Alrighty, artists, so this is the step where you get to have a little bit more fun with your symbolic portrait. And contrary to how you would normally draw a self-portrait, you actually get to decide which side of your self-portrait do you maybe like a little bit better than the other one. Usually you'd be drawing the whole face, but of course, since we are doing half symbols and half just our regular face, we get to choose what side we want to put the symbols on. So as I was looking at my drawing, I'm really liking how my left side of my face looks, and then I can just go in and really refine these details. The reason that we did draw just the outline of the other side is because we are actually going to use approximate symmetry, and we are going to choose symbols that kind of line up and reflect what you see on this side onto the other. So for example, we're not using exact symmetry. If we were, we'd be trying to replicate this eye on the other side. We are doing approximate symmetry, meaning that it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but we are trying to mimic and balance what we have on the left side to the right side. So for example, with the eye, I want to find a symbol that represents me that is in the shape of an eye, or at least close to. I can erase this eye and completely transform it into one of those symbols. So this side of my face will be all symbols. For the eyebrow, I want to choose something that looks like an eyebrow or is in the shape of an eyebrow. I can already think of one thing off the top of my head. Create my eyebrow as a paintbrush. That would be a really cool way to kind of mimic the shape of the eyebrow and do a paintbrush instead. So as you're going throughout your self-portrait, what you'll be responsible for is kind of choosing what shapes you think could mimic the symbols that you'll be using. So for example, if my favorite food is tacos, maybe I could use a taco for my ear on this side. Alright, so have a little bit of fun thinking about those different types of symbols. You really can create however many that you would like. So when you did your worksheet here and answered all these questions about yourself, now is the time to go and reflect and say, okay, what symbols did I talk about maybe including, and how do those symbols fit into my drawing? So maybe what shape could I use for my eye that's a similar shape, right? So this is where you'll make those relationships between, okay, how can I take what I did from that assignment and bring it into my artwork to represent me? How can I identify myself as a person with those symbols? So we're going to have a lot of fun with this. So mainly what I'm going to focus on is not too much detail yet on my side that I like. What I am going to focus on is going in and adding symbols. So again, I talked about how my eyebrow, for example, could be in the shape of a paintbrush. So what I might do is just go in and erase part of this. And I might kind of use the line that I had already created, and I might turn this into, like I said, a little paintbrush. So here will be the top of my paintbrush. I'll have to go and make some changes as we go, but trying to get the shape of that to mimic the eyebrow. Again, using that approximate symmetry, so it should mimic this side. Might not be exact, but it should be close. And being that this is a paintbrush, if I want to mimic the shape of the nose, what I might do is kind of have a splotch of paint that goes right where that line for my nose would be. So I could pretend that this is a paint stroke, and maybe I could do some different colors in there. And again, kind of following the lines that I had already drawn. Just like that. Alright. Some little paint on the end of my brush there. Awesome, awesome. So again, it's going to take some more brainstorming. So if I look at the shape of my eye, I'm trying to find a circular shape, and being that I'm a teacher, I included an apple since that represents teaching in a way. So maybe I could do the apple as the middle of my eye since it's kind of this round shape. So what I could do is go in here and draw an apple just like this. And behind it I actually have my eyebrow that I could maybe turn into a pencil. So we do a lot of drawing in art class, so I thought a pencil would work out really well for that spot. So how fun would it be to do something like that? With the little eraser at the end. And now I have shapes that kind of mimic an eye. Pretty cool. So now you'll see that maybe it doesn't look completely like an eye, but it's mimicking the shapes that you see on the other side. So this side you can completely transform into the different shapes that you're choosing or symbols. Maybe for the bottom of my eye I'll write my name. Just like that. Very cool. You really have the flexibility to do as many symbols as you want. Right now I have the paintbrush, the paint, the pencil, my name, and then also the apple. So that alone is already 5 symbols. What I would like you to do is include at least 10 symbols on this side. So think about the shapes that you are using, okay? Down here, the top of my mouth here, I could turn that into a taco shape, probably the shell of the taco. Being that I really like helping my dad work on cars, I could include a wrench for the bottom part of the lip. You really have to think about how these symbols can fit into kind of the shapes that you've already drawn. So I don't want you thinking, oh my goodness, I drew in the entire right side of the face, now I have to erase it all. It's really there for you as a guide so that you can go in and add your symbols in the appropriate places. So that's why we drew so lightly, knowing that we would come back and make some changes later. Now the hair you can have a lot of fun with. I had students who did individual strands with different patterns inside them. So like let's say I'm drawing a strand here, and maybe I want to do what we call some Zentangle patterns in there. And being that I'm an art teacher, it's only relevant that I could do a bunch of different patterns and colors inside the hair. If you had, okay, let's pretend that your favorite food was spaghetti. Could you do your hair as noodles? You know, you can really have a lot of fun with this and really express yourself through your self-portrait. And that's really what this is all about, is how can we use symbols within our own work in order to convey what our identity is to someone. So in a way, this is almost telling a story to any viewer that really looks at it. They can start putting together the pieces of who I am as a person based off of what symbols I've included. So the overarching goal of this entire unit is to try accomplishing that. What is our story? What is our identity? And how can we share that with people through the use of these symbols? I could also, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, being that I was in a demolition derby at one point, could I create a road with the car on it? Could I create the car down here with the tires and then maybe incorporate the demolition derby flag coming down here, the kind of the finishing flag down underneath my chin? You really just, you can experiment a lot with this, and there's no right answer, quite frankly, as to what you put where. So we really are going to get some super unique projects here that are really just all about you, and it's a great way for all of us to get to know each other too. So have fun with it.